You're listening to the Mopcast Network.
Welcome to the Cult Movie Cantina. This podcast takes a look at our favorite cult films, introduces them to someone who hasn't seen them.
That's me.
Pairs them with a great alcohol beverage.
That's me.
And then we talk about it. Woo. That's me. This week we watched the 1983 film comedy, A Christmas Story. I'm your facilitator of fun and your Lady of Libations, Stephanie, and I'm joined by...
I'm your Native American pop culture spirit guide, Scotty.
I am your Jellicle Jester, Justina.
And she who knows no movies.
There it is. Admiral. Oh, we didn't have space for that. Oh, yeah. That's okay. We are really official right now. We all have our own name plates.
Thanks to our Lady of Libations and Facilitator.
I know. It's probably my favorite.
She brought the fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. Your gift was amazing.
No, it's my favorite.
This is my favorite. I think this made Christmas for me.
I'm so glad. We'll have to take a picture of them.
We all have nameplates. I think that's absolutely.
And it has both of our names. And I like that we both have two. We all have two.
Well, he has one long one.
Yeah, mine's long.
Yeah.
Well, you could be Native American by itself.
That's true. I can't because I am.
Because he is my own self.
Oh,
that's fun.
If you'd like to follow us, you can find us on any fine podcast app, including Spotify, by searching for the Mopcast Network. You can find us on YouTube at Mopcast Network, where we have our podcast, movie reviews, mashups, and short films waiting for you to enjoy. Subscribe and set the alert so you don't miss anything.
And if you want to find out more about the Cult Movie Cantina, you can join us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/cultmoviecantina. There you can find out the latest movie news, see trailers, play games such as Wrong Title Only and Caption This, and talk to other cultists. We are working on our 2020 convention plans right now, so let us know. Dude, we did so well with that.
That was awesome.
All three of us nailed that so well.
I feel super efficient right now, which is weird.
Nobody struggled with their words or language or English in general.
No. Well, just wait for it.
That's fine. We killed that.
I just want to say that this is my first time running this, and I'm kind of excited. And now that I'm looking at my paper, I'm wishing that I had printed it in a larger font. But it's okay.
It's a learning process.
Yeah. It's fine. All right, so we watched A Christmas Story.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't watch it because I've seen it before, and I refuse to watch it again.
So this came out in 1983. It was directed by Bob Clark, written by Gene Shepard, and it was based on the novel In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. Believe it or not.
I feel like I should watch that or read that because every time we do this, I'm always like, let me read the book.
So the book's basically kind of in vignettes, and this is one of the little vignettes. But it's starring Peter Billingsley as Ralphie, Melinda Dillon as Mother Parker, Darren McGavin as the old man Parker, and Gene Shepard, the writer, actually narrated the story. He plays the adult Ralphie. And there's some other people in it, which I didn't really care about. So there's that.
Not that you're not great actors.
No.
It's just for our purposes.
For our purposes. I can't list everybody. But we'll go ahead and play the trailer now.
In this modern age, too many people have lost sight of the true meaning of Christmas.
Mom! Hush! Shut up, Ralphie!
So now, in the spirit of the original,
Me to you! Stop!
traditional, American Christmas,
Thanks a lot!
MGM presents A Christmas Story.
Dancing through the snow.
Uncle!
In a one-horse open sleigh. For the field we go. Laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring. Each still inside. What fun it is to ride and sing.
Ho, ho.
This sleigh's up tonight.
Fragile. That must be Italian.
I think that says fragile, honey.
Christmas Story.
Come on!
The movie that pulls off Santa's beard.
Oh, wow.
And unwraps the secrets
Didn't I get a tie this year?
of the original, traditional,
He looks like a deranged Easter bunny.
100% two-fisted, red-blooded,
It's smiling at me.
all-American Christmas. A Christmas Story.
All right. So, are we ready for the sermon?
Yes, I am.
Preach it, sister.
Preach it.
Tell me your
Gather
ways.
around, brothers and sisters, and listen to this
Amen.
Christmas story.
Sing it loud, sing it proud.
All right, this was set in an undetermined year in the 1940s. Ralphie Parker, played by Peter Billingsley, is a 9-year-old boy living in the small town of Homan, Indiana. His older self, which is the voice of Gene Shepard, narrates his experiences and thoughts through the short weeks before Christmas. As he, a few friends, and his younger brother, Randy, look out into a display window at a local store, Ralphie has his eyes set on the only item he wants for Christmas: an official Red Ryder carbine action 200-shot range model air rifle with a compass in the stock and this thing which tells time.
It's pretty awesome.
I know. That is kind of cool.
I found it on Amazon and got that book added to my list.
Okay, good. You're like me. I like to read the books, too.
I did. Well, I don't like the movie, so it's interesting to me how different it might be from the book.
Oh, see, I love the movie. But the book is probably really cute.
I'll let you know.
So, after that, knowing full well that he could never request this item openly to his parents, Ralphie sneaks advertisements for this gun into his parents' magazines the next morning.
Smooth kid.
I know. He's pretty smart. At the breakfast table, he accidentally lets it slip his desire to his mother, who immediately rejects the idea with the dreaded phrase,
You'll shoot your eye out with it.
"That's right. You'll shoot your eye out." Oh, bless his heart.
I know.
Disappointed, Ralphie daydreams about how he alone, armed with his gun, stands between his family and a gang of striped, shirted ruffians in a Western-style standoff. Meanwhile, his father is forced to battle the temperamental house furnace in the basement amid a slur of curses, which no one understands, thank goodness.
I love Ralphie's dad in this so much.
Is it because he does such a good job of portraying the father in that time frame?
I guess. I
Like-
mean, he's absolutely.
He really does.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
And I don't have this in my trivia, so I'm going to go ahead and say, since we're at this point, he said that he literally had to force himself just to speak gibberish so he wouldn't actually cuss
I believe it.
during that scene.
I believe it
I
too.
believe too. Bob Hoskins did the same thing. Not Bob Hoskins, but Joe Pesci did the same thing in Home Alone. Because Joe Pesci is always, he's known for his four-letter, language. And then when he's working on this kids movie, they're like, you can't curse in this. You can't, and it's just normal for him. So he was like, well, I'll just end up making up gibberish, and so that's why he sounds like Yosemite Sam during it. He's like, "God gosh,"
Right.
And it's just absolutely brilliant. So
That would be a hard habit to break.
Yeah, because I have a hard time. I've learned not to do it so much when the microphone, so that's
Yeah.
my cue to not drop the F-bomb every few minutes, because in real life I do.
Yeah.
So
That was a big thing when I started working again. I was like, all right, so go ahead and get used to it now. Go ahead and rear it back in. Just,
Right.
Stick it back in your pocket. But so far, I've done a good job of keeping it out of the, college job that I have
well, good.
on the phone with prospects. Times you shouldn't do it.
Well, anyway, while walking through the snow to school, Ralphie meets his two friends, Flick, played by Scott Schwartz, if anybody cares, and Schwartz, played by R.D. Robb.
played by Scott Flick.
I know, right?
great.
That would be hilarious. So while Randy lags behind, heavily bundled under a thick wool snow jumper that leaves his arms standing straight out. Yes, I'm
That's like
demonstrating
my
while I'm
favorite
talking.
part of this movie.
He's so cute and
him and his
pitiful.
little-
So I have a question. Can I interrupt for questions?
Sure.
Is this where we can I do that?
I mean, you can. I have a lot of sermons, so let's make it a quick question so I can get through this thing.
I'll let you get there. We'll
No,
go
go ahead.
back and
Ask the
revisit,
question.
Well, it's not the question. I agree with you. I love that scene, but why is he treated so different than Ralphie?
Because he's the baby.
Because
Is
he's the
he?
baby. He's younger than Ralphie.
Yeah, but like a what? 9 months? They're close, aren't they?
They're probably a couple of years difference, I would think.
I think if nothing else, they're grade school, like 1 grade difference at least.
Oh, yeah.
But it's probably 2.
Honestly, recently, I think if Ralphie's 9, Richie, or is it?
It's
It's his brother.
I just said Randy.
Randy. I knew it was an R.
Yeah.
Has to be 7, right?
Yeah, he can't be. I mean, he's probably 2 years.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
probably 2 years
But
difference.
man, she layered and layered and layered on that. I thought it was hilarious.
She definitely babies him.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's why I was like, he's got to be the baby because she
Yeah.
treats him like that's her baby.
I was really expecting when he was complaining about he couldn't move his arms. I was really expecting I have to pee.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
Because there was so many layers on that poor baby. I was just like,
And then the other kid's like, all right, I got my one jacket. I'm out.
He's like,
That's
Go
right.
bye.
It's like you're
Bye,
old,
honey.
you're near
Bye.
death. Go whatever.
Bye. Go like a pool or something. I don't know. Go.
It's great. Bless their hearts. He was so cute, though. All right. Before class, Flick and Schwartz argue over what would happen should someone stick their tongue to a frozen flagpole. So, upon the dreaded triple dog dare, Flick puts his tongue to the pole to find it stuck tight. He starts screaming, but the others run into the school and leaves him there as the bell rings.
As
they
they should-
leave that poor child
As
there.
they should.
Right. Their teacher, Miss Shields, notices Flick's absence, and when she sees him outside, she calls the fire department and the local police, and they try to comfort Flick, and of course, get him off the pole. Get him off the pole.
Get that kid off the pole.
Somebody get the kid off
You
the pole.
too young for that.
You know, we're just that's our goals as parents, just not to get them on the pole, just to keep them from
That's
that
right.
pole.
Get that kid off the pole. As the students watch with excitement, Rafi does feel a little guilty. And this is when Miss Shields then gives them an assignment, a special assignment, which is to write a theme about what they want for Christmas. Now, Ralphie sees this as an opportunity to write about his Red Ryder gun, hoping that his teacher will sympathize with him and secure just a little reprieve with her authority as an adult.
Okay.
So he's got this plan.
He gonna get him
I
a
know
BB
it.
gun.
So on his way home, Ralphie, Flick, Schwartz, and Randy are confronted by a local bully named Scott Farkas. And his toady.
Farkas!
That's right. And his toady Grover Deal. And poor Schwartz is subjected to a painful hammerlock before they all run away, screaming. And while poor Randy lags behind, unable to keep up with that poor jacket.
That jumper.
You think his teacher put him back in all those layers?
Well, somebody had
Like,
to.
can you imagine being that teacher? Like, oh, again, all right, come here, let me get you undone. And it's like, recess, come here. By the time it gets him all bundled up, recess is over, buddy. Got to undo it all.
That's awful.
Poor kid.
So Ralphie makes it home and finishes his theme just as his father comes home, shouting excitedly before being surrounded by the neighbor's dogs. Ralphie watches from his window above and comments on how his neighbors, the Bumpuses, I guess, yes, own dozens of bloodhounds that ignored everyone else on Earth except for the old man. Mr. Parker and also exclaims that he won a grand prize in a local magazine sweepstakes, showing his wife the telegram that says it'll be delivered that night.
Maybe it's a bowling alley. Maybe it's a bowling. They're not going to ship a bowling alley. Well, they could ship the deed. I love that line.
Right.
So excited.
During dinner that night, Randy displays his typical descent for food. And this is the most disgusting part in the movie, by the way. And refuses to
some
eat
mashed potatoes?
until his mother playfully asks him how pigs eat.
Oh. I hate this part.
I know.
I was also weirded out there at a bib, and then I was like, well, maybe he's special needs, and they just don't not say that in the 40s.
I think
Maybe so.
they just baby him.
And the way he ate is just gross. So Randy dives into his food face first, laughing hysterically, while Mr. Parker and Ralphie watch with mild disgust. Blech. Then the doorbell rings and everyone immediately stops. They run to the door where Mr. Parker allows the delivery man to wheel in this large box, and they open it with fervor.
Fragile.
I know.
It's French.
So
Italian.
Oh, it's Italian.
This is
My
hilarious.
bad.
Yeah, he sees the box, and of course it's stamped fragile, and
Oh,
he's just like fragile.
He's so excited for that deed. He doesn't even know what to think.
It's
Italian.
So they open it, and it's a lamp that's designed to look like a woman's leg, complete with a stocking, high heel shoe, and a shade that looks like a skirt.
And not just
Get
any,
it.
just not any stocking.
No,
That's
fishnets.
a fishnet on that lady.
That is a sexy beast right
There
there.
it was.
You know, one year I really should get my father that for Christmas.
You can buy
God,
it.
he loves that movie so much.
While Mr. Parker gushes over it, Ralphie's mother is clearly uncomfortable, especially
should be.
when her husband tells her to display it in the front window for the entire neighborhood to see.
I'm gonna pause right here because so first time watching it, so I'm the newbie in this one, and so I was expecting him to not be as happy as he was when he got this leg, because I know he was expecting something bigger, because he already talked about he's done early in the film they were doing the crossword puzzle or whatever no it wasn't a crossword, it was the nephew of the Lone Ranger.
Right.
And so he's trying to win that $50,000. So clearly this is a thing for him. He's always entering these sweepstakes. And I was, I knew they weren't going to send him a bowling alley.
Right.
But it's so amazingly enduring that he gets, which I consider the lamest prize ever. And he's just so thrilled that he won. He's like, we're going to put it on display. It's the greatest thing ever.
I think that's it, though. The people that are into that kind of stuff,
I mean,
they're like, I won something, and everyone's going to know that I won.
Right. And like the whole, like, it's almost like throughout this film, we get Ralphie's visions of his imaginations kind of come to life, how he sees things. We don't get that with the old man, but for a minute there, you almost think that's how the old man sees the world.
Right.
It's like they're like all the neighbor,
And he goes outside to look at it.
right.
Come,
right. And so
come look.
again, it's amazingly endearing.
It is.
I love the old man. I just would not expect him to love that guy so much.
No, I love him too.
Oh, I love the old man.
So
Fragile.
it's too funny. The only thing that draws Ralphie and his brother away from the glow of electric sex is that his favorite radio program comes on, Little Orphan Annie, which is really important later on.
It's also a
Bless
real
his
radio,
little heart.
It's also a very real radio show.
Yes, absolutely. The next day at school, Ralphie hands in his theme and has a momentary daydream where his paper is given the best grade in class before being brought out of it by Miss Shields. After school, he and his friends are once again chased by Scott and Grover because they're little jerks and weird looking.
Their names are Scott and Grover.
I know. So upon arriving home, he checks his mail to see a long-awaited package from the Little Orphan Annie Secret Society with a secret message decoder pin. And he listens to the encrypted message on the radio that night and rushes up to the bathroom to decode it, only to realize that the secret message is nothing but an advertisement for Ovaltine.
Don't forget to drink your Ovaltine.
Wiser, but nonetheless disappointed, Ralphie casually swears under his breath.
Get it, kid.
Ovaltine. Which, have you had that before?
Ovaltine? Like official Ovaltine? I don't think so.
I
I
have.
have.
I'm not crazy about it.
Okay, where does it like land on like the hot cocoa to like Nestle?
It's closer to Nestle.
It's
Yeah. Like, you
Nestle,
put the
it's
syrup in it
malted. That's the difference. Like, it's not just chocolate powder. It's like a malted chocolate powder.
But
So it's got that malted flavor
See,
to it.
when we were kids, our Nestle, you can do the liquid. We could have got that too, but we grew up with in this metal tin can.
Yes, with the powder.
where you had to use a spoon to open it. And
Right.
the Ovaltine came the same way.
Okay. I don't know if I ever had that as a kid.
I mean, you can
I
buy
don't
it.
remember.
Still.
Yeah, it's in plastic now. I miss the old metal tin.
I did too. They were kind of cool looking. All right, later that night, the furnace blows black smoke into the kitchen again, and the old man rushes down to do battle. Mrs. Parker appears complacent as she strolls into the living room with the watering can before a loud crash is heard. Ralphie watches as his father rushes up the stairs and finds his wife holding his broken lamp. She admits it was an accident before shouting after Mr. Parker claims she was just jealous that he won it, and it was the ugliest lamp that she ever seen. Mr. Parker attempts to fix the lamp, but it quickly falls apart, much to his wife's amusement.
I love when he's like,
Whoops.
get the glue. And she's like, we're all out of glue. You used the glue on purpose.
I know.
That's so bad for him.
Oh.
He musters all the dignity he can as he takes the remains to the backyard and buries it.
Oh my gosh.
He buries the lamp.
He fell in love with that lady.
So back at school the next day, as the students bring in apples for small gifts for the teacher, Ralphie gives her a large fruit basket, hoping that it will sway her final decision on his paper. Still bucking for that grade.
Complete with pineapple, which I was like, where did you get a pineapple in the 40s in Indiana? Whatever.
I don't know. Maybe they had it special for Christmas,
Maybe
like flown in. That evening, the family goes out to pick a Christmas tree. On the way home, the car blows a tire, and Mr. Parker goes outside to fix it. When his mother encourages Ralphie to help his father, Ralphie is only happy to do so. But when his father accidentally knocks the hubcap that Ralphie is using to hold the tire bolts out of his hands, Ralphie utters the big one that he heard his father say in private over and over again. Ralphie says, "Oh, fudge." But actually, it was not fudge. What's the word, guys?
Funko Pop.
I don't think he said
I think it was the F-bomb.
It was absolutely the F-bomb.
Yeah.
At home, his mother puts a bar of soap in his mouth, and his mother asks where he's heard the word. And although Ralphie admits to us that his old man used the word as fluently as an artist would use paint, he chickens out and blurts out his friend Schwartz's name. And when Miss Parker calls Schwartz's mother and tells her, we hear her screaming manically and giving Schwartz a sound beating. Poor Schwartz.
Oh, poor Schwartz.
I know.
I do like when she calls, she goes, he says the word, she whispers it, and the lady screams. She goes, well, do you know where you heard it? She goes, your husband?
Right?
I'm like, oh, they know what's up.
Sent to bed early, Ralphie cries himself to sleep and fantasizes about visiting his parents years in the future to reveal that all the soap sessions his mother gave him resulted in premature blindness, causing his parents to moan and grieve over their wrongdoing.
Oh, such a good scene.
It is. At school the next day, Ralphie is handed his theme back from Miss Shields, and he looks at horror as the large C+ stamped across the top with the phrase, "You'll shoot your eye out."
You'll shoot your eye.
Then he imagines his teacher clad in a witch's outfit, kind of like Wizard of Oz, laughing at him next to his Harlequin mother, who must have surely gotten to her. Ralphie spends the rest of the day in class feeling depressed and hopeless, and that he realizes he will never get his Ryder BB gun.
So do you think he got a C+ because he chose a gun or because his assignment was bad? Like he wrote about it poorly?
He probably used a lot of bad grammar, I'd imagine.
Because I'm wondering if she was like, okay, you didn't pick a good enough gift. C+.
No. It was
Different times.
probably
Different
merited
times.
for grammar. Ralphie is so inconsolable. Wait a minute. I skipped a part.
My bad.
On the way home, Ralphie walks alone and suddenly hit in the face with a snowball. He takes his glasses off and sees Scut Farkas and Grover Dill approach him. Ralphie tears up until Scut starts to mock him and laugh, and then Ralphie snaps. In all of his disappointment and anguish, he charges at Scut, tackling him to the ground, and he beats the crap out of him. Grover runs off as the neighborhood kids cheer Ralphie on. Ralphie picks up his discarded glasses and goes to get their mother. Randy picks up Ralphie's discarded glasses and goes to get their mother, who arrives just as Ralphie is finishing a rant of slurred curses. She gets a distraught Ralphie off the Scut and helps him walk back home. Scut is left to pick himself up with a bloodied nose. Good for Ralphie.
Well done. You don't need that gun, kid.
Well done.
Yeah.
You got you some guns.
There you go. Ralphie is inconsolable by the time he gets home, and his mother tries to calm him down and puts him, to bed until dinner. Meanwhile, Randy hides himself under the kitchen sink, crying that Daddy's going to kill Ralphie. When Mr. Parker does come home, Ralphie goes downstairs, worried that he's going to get in trouble, but his mother kind of downplays the whole situation. And as Ralphie goes to sleep that night, the Scut Farkas affair behind him, he decides the best way to receive his BB gun is to ask Santa himself.
Sometimes you gotta go to the big man.
You got to go to the big man.
That's what my kids do. They're like, it's fine, ask Santa.
So the next night, which is Christmas Eve, the family goes to watch the Christmas parade.
Which is filled with
Weirdness.
with Wizard of Oz stuff.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a lot of that in this.
See, there's a lot of Wizard of Oz because and then they beat up Mickey Mouse, which was weird,
Right?
and random. Just like, oh, Mickey, get out of here! They just beat the crap out of Mickey Mouse.
It's crazy. Well, Wizard of Oz, came out in 1939?
Yeah, and the book's been out since 18.
Yeah, so I imagine because after the movie was so close that it was a big thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Let's see. Ralphie keeps asking to leave early so they can see Santa Claus. As soon as Santa goes by in his float, his parents concede and take him and Randy to the department store where Santa is sitting atop this frosty mountain. There's a long line of kids on one side and a slide going down on the other.
That's legit, by the way.
That's pretty legit.
It is pretty cool.
I have never encountered
I
something
never
like
did that.
I kind of wanted that as a kid. Never got that. And didn't know that
Like,
was
is that something that happens anywhere, cultists? If you've ever experienced that, reach out to us.
It probably happens in places like where they don't have anything else, like where
maybe.
he's from. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
I'm curious.
Ralphie's parents let him take Randy while they go off on their own. So stuck at the end of a very long line with a Santa enthusiast named Goggles to awkwardly content with.
I like Wizard of Oz. I like the Tin Man.
Yeah, right?
I love that kid.
He's so
I
weird.
love the Tin Man.
Ralphie can only wonder if he'll make it to see Santa before closing time. So when they finally make it to the top, Goggles sits on Santa's lap and immediately starts screaming before being put on the slide. Randy follows suit, and Ralphie is escorted by an irritable helper elf to sit on Santa's lap. His perspective as he's swung around shows clearly why most kids are afraid of Santa Claus. He's kind of creepy looking. Ralphie is unable to tell Santa exactly what he wants, so Santa suggests a football, to which Ralphie numbly agrees. He comes to his senses just as he's about to go down the slide and stops himself. Struggling back to the top, climbing up a downslide, he bursts out what he really wants. He gives his best smile, but Santa merely repeats what Ralphie fears. You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Yeah. Before putting his boot to Ralphie's forehead, and he pushes him down the slide.
That's a cruel Santa Claus.
It is.
Man, he was going to wait, and he was like, I'm not working past 9 o'clock. He does, but he's like, I thought that was funny.
It's crazy.
Santa's got a time frame. You got to get them gifts done.
I'm going to give him gifts.
That's right.
Not that BB gun, though, because eyes are important.
Bless him.
Well, he's got bad eyes anyway. He's got glasses.
He's got
I
the
know.
glasses. So the next morning, Ralphie wakes up and goes downstairs eagerly with his brother, who claims that everything inside is his. Their parents follow suit, and presents are unwrapped with frantic excitement, except for maybe the pink bunny onesie.
I am seriously contemplating getting one for cosplay.
It's
oh my
pretty
gosh, yes,
awesome.
please.
I saw that. I was like, that would be funny.
I went to a Christmas party Friday night,
comfortable.
and
Linda can make one for me.
I went to a Christmas party Friday night, and someone had one on. It was awesome. Whereas, by the way, I won in my Dirty Santa gift a Darth Vader onesie.
Nice,
Oh, well
nice,
done.
nice.
I thought
and
that was
it fits
great.
you?
Yes,
Perfect.
I'm very excited. It's a medium, so yes.
I just to go back to this real quick. I love the when he was describing it. It's his aunt who gives this to him, right?
Right.
His aunt who refuses to believe that he's older than 4 and not a girl.
Right.
I just thought it was funny. It just
Like, just put it on.
his dad's
Let's
like
see
he doesn't.
it.
His dad's like he doesn't want to wear it.
Nope. It's goofy looking, bless him. When all is said and done, Randy lies sleeping amid the wrappings with his toy Zeppelin as Ralphie sits on the couch with his parents. And his father asks if he got everything he wanted that year before pointing out a mysterious package behind the desk. Ralphie goes to unwrap it and finds what he thought he'd never get, the Red Ryder BB gun. His father chuckles as he fills it with BB pellets and asks to try it out. Mr. Parker explains to his wife that he had one when he was 8 years old, though she still worries that Ralphie will hurt himself. But Ralphie runs outside and sets up his metal target board while his father drools over the Christmas turkey his mother is making.
So more importantly, real quick, his mom didn't know,
No,
but the dad just got it.
Yeah, the dad got it.
How would y'all feel about that?
I don't know. My dad bought me a gun when I was in the 2nd grade, about the same age as Ralphie, maybe.
No. Like as a parent, how would you feel if the other parent got a gift that makes you uncomfortable and you didn't know about it and they just got it on Christmas morning? I know you're not a parent. Pretend like you are. Like put yourself in that mindset.
I might would be irritated, but I'm not going to take a gift away from my kid.
No, I'd be like, hey, listen, we could have, had that conversation.
There would probably be a fight afterwards. But
A little bit of a grumble. So Ralphie goes outside. He takes aim, fires, and falls back, the pellet having bounced off the target, hitting him on the cheek, knocking his glasses off. Fearful for a second that he actually did shoot his eye out.
I thought he did for a second.
Right. The half-blind Ralphie collects himself and looks for his glasses, but accidentally steps on them.
Come on, Velma.
Right. Breaks them. Despondent, he tries to think of a way to explain the accident to his mother and decides that an icicle falling off the garage would have to work. He fakes some tears and goes to his mother. She takes him to the bathroom upstairs to wash his face off and gives an old pair of glasses to use. And meanwhile, the Bumpuses. There you go.
Bumpuses.
The Bumpuses street bloodhounds get into the house and run rampant through the kitchen, eating all of the turkey. Mr. Parker chases the dogs out, yelling at the top of his lungs before announcing to everyone that they're going to eat out. They go to a Chinese restaurant, and where the family listens to the waiters attempt to sing carols before the main course is brought out with his head still intact. The owner casually takes out a butcher knife and chops the head off while the family claps and they begin to eat. And that night, Ralphie sleeps with his Red Ryder held close, the best Christmas present he ever received, dreaming of hunting ducks and making spectacular shots.
I like it's the most spectacular gift he ever received or ever would receive.
Right.
And the guy's clearly reflecting on his life. Is like, yeah, that gun was it. I topped out at 9.
It was downhill from there, folks.
Topped out at 9.
I will say the part at the Chinese restaurant cracks me up every time I watch it.
When they're trying to do the carols?
Yes. Fa ra 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 ra. So one year for Christmas, we decided as a family that we were going to do that. And we legit went to a Chinese restaurant for Christmas just because it would be fun.
Yeah.
So
did you get any carols?
No,
That's
nobody
super
sang
sad.
to us. I was a little sad. And
That's
also,
sad.
I didn't get a duck with its head on it either.
That's also super sad.
Me and the ex did that one year. And when we were in Boston, we did Christmas. I think Christmas or Thanksgiving we did at a Chinese restaurant because it was just us, and so that's what we did.
So
did not know that was a thing until because I'd never seen the movie, so they were the only place open. So.
That's the thing is they're the only place open.
Yeah, there was no Waffle House up in Boston.
Well, you've said that you don't care for the movie, Justina, but now that you've seen it, Scotty, what are your thoughts?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I walked in not expecting to like it. No lie. I was not looking forward to watching this. It's one of those things that I've had for, it came out in 83, so it's 35 plus years old or whatever. And it's almost been that kind of point of pride that I've never seen it. And there's no reason why I've not. It's just because it literally comes on TBS 24 hours a day for the holiday season. So there's no reason why I shouldn't have seen it out. After a while, like in my 20s, it became a challenge. Well, I'm never going to watch it. It became that.
I don't need that in my life.
And right, exactly. And so I watched it this morning. That's how not looking forward to this I was. I pushed it all the way to the last possible minute to watch it. And then was blown away by how, again, endearing this movie is. I had thoughts what I thought. I had these assumptions or what I thought the dad was going to be a jerk, and the dude is just doing what he can and making the best of it.
Yeah, he's just making the best.
And he's generally just a pleasant guy. I mean,
he really is.
And he may be kind of rough around the edges and he curses and all that stuff, but he's dad.
I like the way the story is told. I like the vignettes.
I loved it.
Because the way the movie really, the basic story behind is kid wants a BB gun, he gets a BB gun. I mean, really.
Yeah.
But all the little vignettes make it. And I like the narration is delightful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely delightful.
So have you never liked it, or is it one of those situations where you've watched it a lot?
So it has literally nothing to do with the story, but my dad loves it so much that I have seen it so many times that it's like It's the same as like when I walk in somewhere with a lot of incense and it smells like the Happy Shack did when I work there all the time, and I'm like, oh god, back here again.
I get you 100% because it has been recently in the last couple of years where I was able to watch Beetlejuice. My brother, when he was small,
I haven't seen that yet.
Watched a ton of Beetlejuice, under the age of 2, where he could just still work the VCR. I mean, he was old enough to grab a VCR tape, slove it into the VCR, and press buttons.
And that's what he watched.
And so there's a string of stuff. So Beetlejuice is recently back on the market. I still can't watch Mary Poppins because I've seen it 1,000 times.
Oh God! Oh really?
Yeah, I can't watch it. Won't watch it because it's like torture.
It's just too much.
It's too much. Pet Sematary was on that list for my brother watched Pet Sematary as a small child. And so Child's Play 2 was on that list for a while.
The two big ones for me was A Christmas Story, because we watched it at least every year, because we're having Christmas on the 29th at my dad's. I will be shocked if he doesn't put it on at some point while we're over there. And then the other one was right after Dad and Liz got together. Kyle was 4, and the only way he could fall asleep was Land Before Time. And we watched that every single night until Dad finally put his foot down, for months, because we all slept in one room in a 2-bedroom apartment. So there was 4 of us kids in 2 bunk beds in an apartment bedroom, and there was a TV on a night dresser right in the middle, and we would have it on every night. And so to this day, I was like, I can't do it.
I've only seen it once,
and I'm sure it's an adorable movie the first maybe a dozen times you watch it, but after 100 times, even the kids, I was like, we're not watching that. I don't want you to like it. So if you like it, I have to watch it.
Do you own it?
I don't think so, no.
As long as they don't know it exists, it's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's on Netflix, because I want to say Mackenzie brought it up and I told her about it, and so she knows I don't like it, but I don't know that they've seen it. I don't know.
All right. So what is our libation?
So let's do this.
I'm excited.
I'm excited that I don't have any work this episode just editing this thing. I'm excited. This is wonderful.
So first, we have the BB gun cocktail.
Oh, okay.
Now, it takes some steps to it, but you need to do all the steps or you'll shoot your eye out. Okay. So first, it's 1.5 ounces of aged rum, 1 ounce of blackberry shrub, which I will explain momentarily, 3/4 an ounce of fresh lime juice, 1/4 an ounce of simple syrup, seltzer tools, which you'll need a shaker tin and a strainer. So if you get a typical, you can shake and strain at the same time. You'll need a Collins glass, and for garnish, you're going to need fresh mint and a lime wheel, not a lime wedge.
Lime wheel.
Talking wheel, people.
I feel like this can be made at the Haberdasher or Post.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit like those kinds of drinks. So you're going to combine all the ingredients in a shaker with ice, shake to chill, strain into a Collins glass filled with fresh ice, and top with soda, and then garnish. So the blackberry shrub, you combine 1/2 cup of sugar and 2 cups of blackberries and let the mixture sit overnight. Add 1 cup of apple cider vinegar and let the mixture sit for another 24 hours. Strain and store in the fridge until use or up to 1 month. Again, you can half-ass this, but then you'll shoot your eye out. So do it properly. Now, I also have another beverage, because sometimes you got to rinse your mouth out, okay? So we're going to go with the cilantro mojito, because some people feel like that tastes like soap. So we're going to be replacing mint with cilantro. This refreshing Cuban cocktail is a sweet and sour island treat, okay? Start with 1/4 a cup of fresh cilantro leaves. Add cilantro to a cocktail shaker along with 1 lime cut into 8ths. 1 teaspoon sugar and 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. Shake vigorously. Then add 1/2 cup of ice and 2 ounces of white rum, such as Bacardi. Live your life, though. Strain into a highball glass, half full of crushed ice, and garnish with a lime wheel and a pretty sprig of cilantro.
That sounds delightful.
It's refreshing and will cleanse your mouth
I
out.
love cilantro. However, those are some complicated beverages.
Listen.
She just came out of the gate on there, Lady of Libations.
I know. It is
technically, you could do a super simple mojito and just do the mojito mix.
Right.
But instead of using a lime, use cilantro.
I do like mojitos.
Yeah, I do too.
Instead of the mint, use cilantro.
That's what I meant. Instead of the mint, use cilantro.
I don't think I've ever had cilantro.
You don't. It's usually in salsa.
I don't eat salsa, so.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Because I don't like tomatoes, so it's like.
Okay.
It's sometimes on like Mexican dishes too.
Oh, because I
like it, but I know it's one of those things that you either like it or
you
people
hate
say
it.
it tastes like soap.
Right.
Like
it's
straight up.
like a 50-50 shot.
But it's
Yeah.
like a genetic thing.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a
And I'm kind of curious if I'm genetically like, do I like
That's
it?
interesting. I love cilantro.
I love it too.
Maybe
and I was looking
but my
up,
dad hated it.
like soap like drinks.
Maybe we can bring some in next week and we can do an experiment for the cult meeting.
there you
I'd
go.
be okay with that.
All right. Are you ready for some bar trivia?
Yes,
Yes.
please. Now that we're all intoxicated,
All right.
but classy.
So
Classy intoxication.
right? Gene Shepard's book, In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, which the film is partially based on, is a collection of short stories. Where were these first published?
National Lampoon.
Oh, I just looked up the book too. Oh my gosh.
No, not the book. The collection of short stories before it was a book.
Oh.
They were a collection.
Newspapers. I want to say they came out weekly in a newspaper article.
Playboy magazine
Playboy.
during the
Ooh.
1960s.
Yeah, Playboy was my
Or
second
Reader
guess.
Digest would have been a good guess
I think
too.
John Hughes was National Lampoon because Christmas Vacation was in. I think Christmas Vacation and I think the other one were both Lampoon stories that he wrote.
So those stories included the ones about sticking the tongue to the flagpole and eating Christmas dinner at a Chinese restaurant. The subplot of the mangy dogs was taken from another of Shepard's short story collections called Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories and Other Disasters. I love the name of his books, by the way.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. In that book, the character of Ralph is about 17 years old. So he sticks with the same people and ages them. Okay. So here's one that I'll just have to tell you because I don't know how to ask it. But when they were filming the scene in the Chinese restaurant, Melinda Dillon, who played the mom, was purposely given the wrong script, and everyone else had the correct one. And she had no idea that the duck would still have its head.
That's funny.
And when she saw it, the reaction that she gave was real.
Yeah, the reactions were really good in that.
So
That's fun.
Also, she has a Mobile connection. She's in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, really?
And she's the mom in that. You know, the little boy that gets kidnapped. She got no Oscar. She's 2-time Oscar nominee, and one of the Oscar nominees are from Close Encounters.
Fun fact.
Crazy.
Which was filmed here, and the scene where the little boy gets taken is in Fairhope. So.
Mm-hmm.
So when they how many times do you think Ralphie says he wants the Red Ryder BB gun?
Oh.
5.
I'm going to go with at least 9.
He says it 28 times
Jesus,
throughout the course
man.
of the movie.
It just kind of comes numb after a while.
Right? Okay, Scott Schwartz, who played Flick, which is the kid who sticks his tongue to the frozen flagpole. What did he go on to do?
Porno.
Yes,
Porno?
he did.
Yeah, he did porno. I knew that.
Once you get stuck to that pole, man.
for a while, I thought it was Ralphie, but it was the other kid. Yeah, he's porno.
All right, I do have a couple of fun facts. You can actually get your tongue stuck to a frozen flagpole. This was tried by Mythbusters, and they did prove that it does happen. In the actual scene, what they had is like a little hole and suction. So it looked like his tongue was being stuck.
Oh, okay.
But it was actually just some suction.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you can still purchase a Red Ryder BB gun. The real Red Ryder BB gun was first made in 1938 and was named after a comic strip cowboy. You can still buy it today for the low price of $39.99.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of
Christmas
cool.
presents.
I know.
Oh, you guys are all day late, though.
All right. I'm not going to do this screw, marry, kill because there's way too many children in this movie. I just don't feel right about that.
I'm with you.
So
Cool.
we're not going to do that. So we're going to close the tab. How much do you think it made its opening weekend, which was November 18th, 1983?
$6 million.
13 million.
Only $2,072,473.
Jeez. It's crazy to think that that's how much it made its opening weekend, and it's still being shown today.
Well, what did you think where do you think it placed that weekend?
At $2 million.
Out of 5 or out of 10?
Let's do out of 5.
Oh, it's the top 5.
Okay.
That's even better.
5.
4.
It did finish 5.
Oh, good. Go you.
I was going to say 7, but I was like,
There
well,
you
we can
go.
narrow it down a little
But
bit.
it followed and in order, Mr. Mom, Amityville 3D, The Big Chill, and Risky Business.
See none of those. So I'm like, well, okay, whatever.
Oh, wow. Those are all really good movies.
I've seen all of them.
Yeah. All right. So how much do you think it made total? And when I say total, I'm meaning its first run because, of course, with all
Yeah.
you know.
And we're talking domestic right now.
So I'm gonna go back to my 13.
Oh. 9.
19,294,144. What happened is it picked up momentum in December and skyrocketed, and actually was number 1 for a couple weeks.
Do you know what? Do you know how much it costs to make it?
I don't. I forgot to look that up. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No problem.
It was not in my template, and I'm just now thinking
That's my fault.
it's okay.
Shade.
It's okay. So for the year, where do you think it placed? 1983
For the whole year.
For the whole
so
year.
19 million.
Okay, when did it come out?
In 83.
83.
No. What time of the year?
November.
So where did it place by the end of that year?
Yeah.
Where did it place for the whole
And you
year?
said it
If
picked
all
up momentum in December. Okay.
So where did it rank for the year of 1983 in movies?
75.
54.
Scotty was close. 53.
Oh, you were
look at
super
Look
close,
at that.
buddy.
Can anyone tell me what number 1 was in 1983?
No.
I will say Return of the Jedi.
You are correct, sir.
Well done.
Look at that.
83.
This is why you're our Native American
I
pop
know.
culture spirit
I'm seeing
guide.
if I can find
I'm
that.
just
You're gonna
learning to
find-
not guess those.
You're looking up to see how much it costs
yeah,
to make?
but yeah, it's usually in the.
I totally should have looked.
No, it's fine. It may not. They may not have it.
I think I did pretty good.
Yeah, I think you did wonderful. Yeah.
I think you did a great job. You had a legit story
I
for our
will-
sermon.
I will
I'm so
save-
proud of you.
I will save it for the
The meeting.
The cult meeting. That's your homework for the cult meeting.
Yeah, I'll find out how much you made. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments about the film?
I loved it. I did. I expecting not to, and I've got there's a couple of things because we got plenty of time. There's
Oh, yeah.
stuff I want to talk about, but overall I thought it was fabulous. I thought I see why it's a classic. I going in, and there's some movies that I have seen that are quote unquote classics that I understand why are classics, but I don't feel that way. I will watch this movie again. This will be.
I watch it every
Is this
year.
your Christmas movie now?
It's not, but it.
What I like
Die Hard's my Christmas movie. Come on, it's like Die Hard, Gremlins, maybe this.
what I like about this movie, as far as it being a Christmas movie, is it's very realistic as far as what really happens with
A
the family.
real-life
Even those
family,
1940s. I mean, this is, I'm guessing, lower middle class. You know, they're doing the best what they can.
And they're generally just happy.
They're happy people. They're doing their thing. It's not, some Christmas movies are just so fantastical and it's like Christmas never. Christmas is chaotic and it's stressful and it's you know.
And I think this movie highlights all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. They're most Christmas movies are followed on 2 categories: these crazy fantastical adventures or these super depressing.
Right.
I mean, there's it's like these
I
are our
agree.
and then you got this shining being that's a Christmas story. Is like this is just life. And
Yeah.
and it's life in I think it's early for it.
It's got to be early 40.
And
They won't say. I mean, even in all the trivia, it's like
cause I'm looking at it because to me it looks like pre-war, so it's got to be at least 40, 39 or 40. I think it's got.
Well-
but if the Wizard of Oz come out, it's got to be 1940. It has to
Yeah.
because there's no post-war imagery in it. 'Cause
Right.
World War I happens in 41, so we've got America looked different
Yeah.
Right.
for that. So I think
It
it's
did.
so we're looking at a post-depression era family.
right.
And I mean, and if it's pre-war, I mean, they're really post. I mean, it's still depression era, and they're doing all right. I absolutely, I love the dad.
Yeah.
I love the dad.
He's
so
just
much.
taking care of his family,
Just and then just I like again. He's just so happy
fighting
to,
that furnace because they can't afford to replace it.
But he's
I feel that in my soul.
he's so happy to have the leg, and it's just
So to have
and,
the
and-
leg.
and it could have been it could have been a can of tuna, and he would have been just so happy to win.
I think, because I think they felt like you finally caught a break.
right, kind of, and it's maybe
Like
the
he's been
leg
doing
was
it
right-
for years,
and-
yeah.
oh, fine. So I really related to Ralphie on a couple of things I wanted
Okay.
to bring up, and I've got questions for you, for your ladies, to
Okay.
for your perspective on stuff. First of all, being who I am, and I've been myself for 42 years. I have always been creative. And I have been that kid who just daydreams all that kind of stupid stuff that he did. I did all of that. I dreamt.
Oh, yeah. I did too.
I dreamt that the teacher liked my essay the best, and I was.
I daydream now. What
I
do you
do too.
tell
I
me?
do too. But those specific type of daydreams I've had before.
Oh,
That-
yeah.
I dreamt that my paper was going to be the best paper ever, and it comes out and I get the C or D. Because I can write a great story. I'm not the greatest on grammar, and so that's why.
But I
have,
brought you that fruit basket.
And that's why I think Ralphie probably got the C.
he is,
yeah.
he's so weirdly and amazingly relatable. I mean,
That's cool.
I got to kick out. So the other thing that I related to real well, I wanted to share this story with you. This wasn't a Christmas story. I was 5 years old, living with my mother in Texas, outside of a little town called Nederland. We lived in a trailer park. My mother was a Pizza Hut manager. That's how she got the job over there, and so I lived there with my family. This is in the area where this is in the age of the early 80s where you just let your small child just roam free.
Yes.
Simpler
I
times.
remember those times.
Like non-supervised or supervised. But that was before Stranger Danger. That was before Adam Waltz died, and Walsh died, and so I was a small boy running around, and we just stayed in our neighborhood. But
I was a small boy
and I was a small boy living and
living in the trailer park in Texas.
Everyone kind of just watched out for you and stuff. Except this one lady and her son across the street, and I don't remember what her name is, but I remember his name. So I'm 42 now, minus 5, 37 years ago. 37 years ago, I had a rival, and his name was Elvis.
Oh, God.
Elvis.
Elvis was an asshole. Elvis was a bully. And he bullied all the little kids. I mean, my next door neighbor was my age, and we had a 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old brother that ran out with us too. Because again, simpler times. We just let the babies run with everybody.
That's crazy.
It was.
I know.
And
Can you imagine Callie doing that? Living her best life.
yes,
She would survive. Like the other ones probably wouldn't, but Callie would be the one. She would survive.
I mean, I totally could imagine Callie doing that.
Continue on, good sir.
So I don't remember what the fight was about, but I know we were throwing mud pies at each other and mud balls and having kind of a little war, and Elvis got involved. And then Elvis just jumped on top of me and started beating on me.
Jerk.
And yeah, just
Go lick a pole.
right, just started beating the hell out of me. Or, in
Right.
5-year-old terms, just probably more slapping than anything.
Right.
And I just lost my shit. And I beat the ever-living crap out of Elvis. And I bit him from both arms, from wrist to shoulder.
Oh, my God.
So on both arms, he had bite marks from like the wrist all the way up to his shoulders.
So your new nickname is Pitbull.
I screwed that
We're gonna
little-
need some new name tags. But
That's
I
right.
screwed that little boy up. It was bad. So much messed him up so much that days later, I was out playing with kids, and we had found some mud, and we painted our faces with the mud like heathens,
Right.
Because Native American pop culture spirit guide. I was going down to my roots even back then, and so we were running, and so I was hungry or whatever, and going for a snack, and I don't have time to clean off the mud,
Right.
and this lady is visiting the house. And I didn't know the lady, and I just came in and like, hey, covered in mud and just being a boy.
Right.
Yeah, that was Child Protective Services coming to investigate our house because Elvis's mom called because of the fight and how many
God.
Here I show up all painted up like
Like a
what's up, lady?
Like a
I'm
wild Indian.
starving. I don't ever
I
eat.
need my little Debbie.
Did you go for a little Debbie?
Yeah, of course I did. It was back
Of
then.
course I did.
Did you get in trouble?
I don't remember. I didn't get in trouble fighting Elvis. Mom didn't care at all. I didn't know about the DPS stuff until years later. I remember that situation. I remember walking in. I remember a clear memory of that. I didn't recognize who she was. Years later, Mom told me, "Oh yeah, that was child protective. That was DPS." They were just like, they were investigating your grandmother.
I had a similar situation, and I can't remember if I think I was 3rd grade, whatever age that is. But I always played outside with the boys, whatever, climbing and bikes and whatnot, that kind of stuff. And this one boy would just harass the shit out of me all the time, just teasing and teasing. And, and he'd push on me, and, it was just horrible. And this went on. And so finally one day I had enough, and I went home, got my tennis racket, because I played tennis at that time. My whole family did. And got my tennis racket.
Hold on real quick. Didn't know that. I've known Stephanie for like 9 years. Didn't know you played tennis.
Oh, I don't play it anymore.
Well, yeah, just ever.
I don't play it anymore.
Yeah. Anyway.
After this incident.
Well, got my tennis racket.
Spoiler.
Went to find this kid, and we were living in Sandpiper Apartments at the time. Found him on the tennis court, believe it or not. And because that's where we'd play, because it was just open play space. And I beat the ever-loving shit out of him with my tennis racket.
Get it, girl.
And
live your best life.
Right?
And then, so I went home. And as soon as
Cleaned
my
the blood off.
once again, unsupervised, because my parents were at work. So when they come home from work, the child's mother comes over to my house, because apparently she was working too. No parents were home when this incident happened.
No, why? Simpler time.
Right. But oh yeah, she came over there, and it's like, your child's not allowed to play with my little boy anymore. She's just too rough, and blah blah blah. So here I am, and I'm tiny. I was tiny little female, and yeah, I played too rough.
You're like, I wasn't playing.
I got in so much trouble.
Did you?
Oh yeah. No. My dad was very I had great parents, but there was, there were rules.
Right.
And beating children with your tennis racket was against it, the rules. So
I would argue, well, we never stated that clearly, sir. I just
yeah. Oh, so, you don't argue, then you got it worse.
I understand there. Did you ever beat a child?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't want to exclude you on the
No.
child beating discussion.
Oh, I met someone in the street once to fight them. Like, had the whole dramatic, like,
oh, did you?
Okay.
How old were
you?
This was Tuesday.
I was like, what day is it? So we had just moved to Alabama. We hadn't lived in Alabama very long. I had to have been, like, I just turned 13. Or before I was 13. There was this girl named Ashley Greer that lived on our road, and she was talking about Kyle. And I need you to know that I have 4 brothers, and one of them is named Kyle. And he was the only, like, step brother.
Real quick, it'd have been funny. He's like, I have 4 brothers. None of them are named Kyle.
Yeah. Kyle was a random kid I found. But Kyle and I, it wasn't until he got in high school and he came to live with me that we ever got close.
Right.
Like he was the one that loved Land Before Time. Let's just start there. Okay. We established our relationship off poorly from the get-go. He was 4 years old when Liz and Dad got together. He was definitely the step kid. And I was just older. Like because he was 4, I was 9. So we were 5 years apart. And so we weren't at the ages where we would connect.
Hang out. Yeah.
So we just never were friends. Well, this girl on the bus was talking shit about Kyle, and I get really defensive towards my family, even if I hate them.
Right.
Even if in that moment,
that's your family.
Like I don't even want to ever talk to them. She was saying shit about Kyle, and I was like, don't talk to him. Like, listen, that's not gonna happen. And then it grew and grew and grew to the point where, like, we met each other in the street, and I was like taking out, because I had hoop earrings in at the time, which sounds really kind of ghetto in this moment because I don't wear hoop earrings, so I don't know why I was wearing them. But I was like, I remember taking out my earrings and handing them to Delilah, who also lived on this street, and I was like about to beat the shit out of this girl, and my parents drove in.
Oh, wow.
So I was babysitting at the time, and they drove down the street, and I told them, and I cannot remember what she was saying or what was happening.
I'm defending the family honor. Let me get my earrings off.
But like, she was talking shit about Kyle, and I was like, let's go. Let's do this. And my parents showed up. That's the only reason that didn't
So
happen.
how old Kyle were we around this?
So if I was 13, he was 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was pretty much Penny's age, close to Penny's age. Yeah. And I was close to Mickey's age. And I was like, no, let's do it. Street now.
Street.
God, I was Mickey's age. I was pretty much Mickey's age.
Right.
I was
That's
about to
crazy.
beat the crap out of some kid in the street. Ugh.
So at the core of this story, not your story, but the story of the movie.
Back to the movie.
Back to the movie.
The child wanted a BB gun.
Mm-hmm.
What was your equivalent of the BB gun growing up? What was the toy or whatever you wanted for Christmas the most? And did you get it, or B, or did you never get it, or C, did they do the it's the last present like they did in the movie? Did any of that happen for you guys?
Yeah, for me, I remember wanting. It was this 3-story Barbie dream house.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the 3, and I was like, I still like Barbies, but yeah, I was really big into Barbies, and I wanted that dream house so big, and it was expensive
Oh, yeah,
for the
well,
time.
yeah, it was,
it was
yeah.
a big one, and so yeah, that's all I asked for Christmas. I asked Santa Claus and all of that, and I'm an only child, so of course I got it. So of course I got it. Don't be ridiculous.
Santa came through.
Santa came through.
So I have 2 things that I can think of. I remember being small, like it was after Liz and Dad got together, so I had to have been like 9 or 10, and wanting a Ken doll because I had Barbies, and I never understood why I didn't have a Ken doll. I was like, why do I have all of these kid Barbies and mom Barbies, but you need a man to make a baby? Like that really, like, I was like, why don't I have?
I like Justina was like, I need logic here.
Yeah,
Like,
I really did. I was
Because
like, why doesn't it
maybe
make
your
them
mama
like?
didn't want you to figure that out?
Well, they were like, you're not gonna. What are you gonna do with them? I'm like, I just need a cat. Like, it was one of those things where it wasn't even that. Like, it was a dream for me. It was just exactly. It's like that was why I didn't get it. It was because it was inappropriate.
They're going to go on dates.
What's funny about it is they did have. I got one. So I got one for my birthday, and they did have alone time where I would go, and now they're over here, but they would be on top of each other, and I would put them to the side.
Yes, I would do the same thing.
But I wouldn't do anything with them. I was like, now they're over here. But it wasn't something like, I was like, I want this so bad. It just didn't make sense to me not to have it. And then for them to be like, you don't need one, it kind of bothered me. That was more than anything.
See, I used to do the same thing with my Ken dolls until I met this friend in Sandpiper Apartments again.
Dreaded Sandpiper
shady
Apartments.
He
apartments.
lived next door to me, and he had every Star Wars toy you could ever imagine, which my parents would not buy for me because it wasn't feminine. And and I was already a huge tomboy, and they did everything they could to help me
Like,
not
you want that
be one.
expensive Barbie dollhouse? Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like, so they, I guess
Make one hell of a G.I. Joe base.
I get it. Yes, right. If I had spray paint, man, I would have just painted that.
Just Barbie's drug out hideout.
But so I would go to his house and play with his Star Wars toys, and he would let me on occasion borrow. He had the 12-inch Star Wars dolls, which are the same size as the Barbies, and he'd let me borrow them from time to time. So that's who my Barbies would date,
And they would just go in a
and
corner.
we would kick. They'd kick Ken to the curb.
Nice.
Side note, just for your benefit, I have recently just acquired a collection of those.
Oh, those are so
12-inch
awesome.
Star Wars figures. I got it in the last few months on Facebook.
Yes, they're
Market.
figures because boys don't call them dolls.
They don't. They're not dolls.
These are totally dolls. These are totally straight up dolls, but
Oh, they're so cool.
Figurines.
12-inch and
I
12
was
dolls.
so
Yeah.
jealous, but I was lucky
Vintage,
to have
yeah.
a friend that let me play with the Star Wars toys, and he had everything.
I had a living in Texas. I don't know how. I gotta ask Mom when I get home. Next time, figure out how this happened. But we were friends. She was friends with a guy who's a doctor and his wife, and Mom was like a manager at a pizza Hut with the worlds to me didn't seem they would collide. I don't know how they met each other, how they knew each other, but being I think he was the only. No, he had a little sister, but his name was John Michael. And John Michael had every Star Wars toy. And so I'd go play over John Michael's house and just play it with all the Star Wars toys. I mean, just everything. I mean, stuff I didn't know existed. He had, and just
Right.
Because we
That's
were,
how this guy was.
we
He
were
was
poor.
great.
We didn't have. I mean, I had some toys, but I didn't like not until later on. And most of my toys, I had a lot of toys growing up, but all my toys came from Goodwill.
Yeah.
Because I lived in that sweet spot era before eBay, so parents would still clean out closets of
Find really good stuff.
and just tons of stuff that they would just I had 4 or 5 Millennium Falcons that Mom bought like for a couple dollars a piece or whatever.
That's
and
awesome.
She would bring stuff. She'd work graveyard shift at the. I mentioned this I think in the last podcast, but she'd work graveyard shift at the jail, and when we talked about the Hardee's thing.
Yeah, you would get the Hardee's.
thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a Goodwill there, so she would go in the mornings and go see all the good the good new Goodwill stuff that would come in, all the donations that would come in. So she picked. I would come home from school someday and there'd just be toys lined up. She probably spent $5 on just hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of toys.
That's awesome.
So I had a lot of. I mean, I had a lot. It was all cheap, but
you didn't do without.
No, none at all. Not at all. So
We usually got like 3. Like I think that was our numbers. We would get like 3 toys. I grew up very, very poor, and my parents didn't really do a whole lot of Goodwill. I don't know why. We just didn't have very much. So I remember like we used to get those sweet spots. I remember getting like a doll one year and being like, "Oh, this is the best!" And I would set up school, and I would put all my dolls up, and like I would be a teacher teaching them because I'm a nerd.
I have no idea where my toys came from.
So
Because on Christmas, all my toys weren't wrapped. Everything from Santa Claus was set up and open.
Right.
So they could have.
See, all of mine were always wrapped, and that bothered me once Liz and Dad got together and they started getting more and more gifts the more that they got, financially secure. And everything was wrapped, and most of it was from Santa, and it would always be in Liz's handwriting.
Oh yeah.
Like we noticed that from the very beginning.
No, everything from Santa was unwrapped and just put under the tree.
That's what we do. It's unwrapped and it's not labeled.
Right.
So their stockings are laid against the things that Santa brings to
Right.
kind of help narrow that down in case it's ever confusing. Because I have 3 girls, but I just remember I never really got gifts. Like we would get, like I said, like the maybe 3, and that was it.
And I know for you've already mentioned that you were talking, but we've talked a little bit about this on other podcasts where you played more outside with the neighborhood kids and
Right.
stuff than were an indoor kid, like a toy kid. But did you have a particular favorite toy growing up outside of just like I mean, I know Barbies were your thing, but do you
Not
like
really.
like evening gown Malibu whatever Barbie or whatever?
No, I didn't have a preference. I mean, my favorite things, I think, like I said, like I guess indoor wise, was when my parents really big into music, and so I would get like whatever the latest technology was at the time, like so record player with records or like a boombox with cassettes or. And I really like my music, so that was the cool thing for me.
I'm smiling because it's leading to another question,
but as far as I don't remember a particular toy that.
How about you?
No, I read. I was
Right.
the nerd in my room. I remember one year my mom got me a tetherball, but not a pole. Like she got me the box with the tetherball and the rope, right? And I remember taking it. We lived in Roselia, and I remember taking it home and like my dad making a joke or something because I had the tetherball but no pole. And something happened one day. I got upset because I was outside playing with kids, and I got upset or something. And I was sitting. It was like one of those novel moments where I was sitting up in my room in the top floor of this house, which is like 2 stories, but still. And we didn't have screens on our windows because safety isn't a thing back then.
Right.
And I'm sitting in my windowsill on the 2nd floor looking at the yard because I was upset. And my dad was out there digging a hole and installed my tetherball.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
like one of my favorite memories as a kid was my dad installing my tetherball when I was upset.
Awkward gift moment from my parents. It was right after my parents first got divorced, and I remember I think it was a Christmas right after they got divorced, and I was 13. Now, when I was 13, dressing up like Madonna and listening to music, and I had a trampoline, which I love. Oh, that might be. Well, that's not really a toy.
No, I would count the
I love
trampolines
the
were
trampoline.
awesome.
I was like loved my
never had one.
trampoline.
Never
I
did
would
one.
even camp on it in a sleeping bag.
I always wanted one. My mother always said no, and then our neighbors got one, and so Dad was like, "We don't have to get one because the neighbors got one. This guy's over there." All
But
the
at the time, I'm like riding bikes and on trampolines and listening to music and whatnot, and I got a Cabbage Patch doll for Christmas. Now, mind you, I wasn't super girly anyway. Did not want a Cabbage Patch doll, and I was in my mind past the age of dolls. And I remember getting this ugly ass Cabbage Patch doll, which my father thought was great because that they're pre-named, and the doll's name was Jack, which is the same name as my dad, and now it's my son. So that was it was very sweet. But I was thinking, what am I going to do with this thing? It was just, I was the owner of a Cabbage Patch doll at one time.
My father and I went to, Mobile didn't have a Toys R Us. We had a Children's Palace. And I remember in 84, maybe?
I remember we had KB Toys.
We had a KB Toys in the mall, too. But
we still have that.
Children's Palaces where Babies R Us used to be.
Okay.
That used to be Children's Palace growing up when I grew up. That used to be the toy store when I grew up. We also had that independent toy store on the way toward off of airport, almost to Schillinger. Used to be a toy store hardware store.
Oh, I do remember
and
that.
And the toy store place closed, and we 15 years ago, whatever. But when I went there, when they were closing, they had stuff from the 80s still. No one bought stuff. It was crazy. Anyway, side story. I'm trying to remember where I was going with it. I remember going with Dad in 84 to Children's Palace to fight, and I mean fight, for my mother's Cabbage Patch doll he got her for Christmas.
Oh.
Mom still has it somewhere, but we fought, had to fight other people to get it and snag it and get it to the register. It was crazy.
It is crazy. They must, looking back now, and I of course, being a kid, you're not super appreciative, but they had to have, because it was during the height of the Cabbage Patch doll. And
they had to have fought for that.
They had.
Were you aware of that?
Cabbage Patch dolls, I never got.
No, but it being a thing.
No.
So you were old enough to remember how crazy Tickle Me Elmo was, right?
I mean, I remember it from when Mackenzie was little.
Right, but everybody wanted to Tickle Me, and they would fight for it and fight over it.
Yeah, it was
I don't remember people fighting for it.
Oh,
they had riots for the Cabbage Patch. I'll see if I can find some YouTube news stuff on it, and I'll post it on the show notes.
Yeah.
But.
So all this talking about dads. So I remember. I forgot about it till you guys started bringing up the different things dads did. That's interesting. But my mom and dad got separated in April of the year that I was 8.
All three of us are from divorced parents.
Yeah. So it was April when I was 8, and I could do the math, but I don't feel like it's
all
probably
three of us have been divorced.
1997. Did the math.
All three of us have been divorced.
Or 1998 or something. So anyway, when it was a big fight, and then my dad left, and I was always a daddy's girl. And
me too.
I remember the first time I saw him after he moved out was in the beginning of August. And it was August 8th or something. So I had just turned 9. And I showed up at his apartment. This first time I got to see him, and he had a gift for me. And it's this little gorilla monkey that sings the Macarena.
Oh, gosh.
And I never really cared for the Macarena. It wasn't something I was super into. And he was like, oh, you enjoy it. It's just this monkey that goes like this.
Oh, yeah.
And sings the Macarena and goes, hey, Macarena. And then does it again. I still have that in the attic. I still have that.
That's very sweet.
That's probably the toy. It was more of a feel good though. Every time I would get upset, I would play the Macarena monkey.
If you're talking awkward, yes, and this may not have happened to you, but because I've got a couple, but do you? Was there anything that you wanted, then you got it was a total bust?
Oh, interesting.
Like you were like, I can't wait to get this present, and I was excited to get it, and then you show it because what the fuck? Why did I ask for this?
I have one as an adult.
Oh, what's that?
So Chris and I were together. We had just moved into the house in Daphne on Donna, and I needed a new straightener. And so there was this straightener, hair dryer, and curling iron kit that I was like, oh, that's cool. I really, really want that. And the straightener sucked really bad. And I still technically have the hair dryer and the curling iron, and I use the curling iron at like almost every single. It's dying. I need another one. But the straightener was so bad, and that's what I wanted it for. My hair would be frizzy when I was done, like straight but frizzy. You know what I mean? Like it's tamed but not really.
Yeah, it didn't get hot enough.
But I wanted it so bad, and then we didn't really have money, so I made it work, but I hated it. I was like, I regret this.
I don't think so. That I had anything that it was
about. You seem like you would be the kid who researched things right, though.
I really did. And I didn't, I make jokes about being an only child, but I was not one of those that my parents didn't just go buy stuff for me. I mean, I got stuff on my birthday and Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there wasn't like...
They just show up.
It wasn't like, oh, I want this, and then they'll go buy it for me. That's not how it works.
Right.
And it just turns out that my birthday and Christmas are, spaced well enough to where
right.
It worked out fine. So yeah, I would kind of like if I wanted something, it was something I really wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, totally.
But my my dad especially was very much about experiences, and so we would go do things a lot. I mean, there was a lot of whatever my dad did, I did. Much to my mother's chagrin. So, if he went fishing, I went fishing. If he went hunting, I went hunting. If he had to get underneath the house and replace the piping, I would be under the house replacing piping. I mean, it was, that's just how it was. My dad and I would get up. My mom liked to sleep in, and on her off days, my dad would wake me up in the morning with a cup of coffee, even as a kid. I've been drinking coffee since I was 9 months old. No joke. My grandmother used to give it to me in my bottle. So,
oh my goodness,
that explains a lot.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
My dad would wake me up with a cup of coffee early in the morning, and we would put our, get dressed. And our thing is, he used to love to go to Crystal's for breakfast. So we'd go to Crystal's and have our own little breakfast, before my mom would wake up, and we would do our own, and we would do stuff like that all the time. Always just me and my dad, and he would let me. Of course, this is before the seatbelt laws. He would let me sit in his lap and drive. I couldn't reach the pedals,
right.
So I would sit in his lap and drive to wherever we went while he operated the pedals. So there was a thing there.
That was a thing.
So, that's sweet.
I like that we're doing this. This is kind of fun. It's different for our episodes, but it's
it is good. It was Christmas.
It's Christmas and the holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
So for
right
me,
now it's Hanukkah actually.
Yeah, that's true. Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish friends out there.
Yes, Happy Hanukkah.
If you have Hanukkah stories, I only have a Yom Kippur story. I don't have any Hanukkah stories. For me, the toy that I wanted so bad that turned out to be a bust was a motherfucking Light Bright.
Oh, I had one of those.
Oh,
you didn't like the Light Bright?
I hated the Light Bright.
I feel like they're good in theory,
right?
And then when you actually go to do them, it's just kind of
it becomes tedious.
You can't get them to stay in sometimes, and they fall out,
and you never can make it look like the one you wanted.
I loved my
and they don't look like the picture because the picture doesn't have the paper in the background,
right?
So they always look like, and then after you do it one time, you can't do it again because you push the thing in and you don't see the colors.
Right.
I got you. I got you. It's cool. You lose the little pegs that go everywhere. As an adult, I hate them for my kids. Please do not give me another one, anybody, ever. My kids don't need it. I have like 3 in a closet. We don't need more.
I didn't know that they still made them.
They're like fancier now. Like so they have one like that, like your thing where they like it has a base and then it snaps down and then comes back up and you keep the pegs on the bottom so it's like a thing instead of like a box. It's like how TVs got thinner.
I do know the toy that I didn't want. I mean that I wanted, didn't want. Now that you talk about that, I guess I erased it from my mind. Erased it. It's Etch-a-Sketch.
I was going to ask if it was an Etch-a-Sketch
because now that I remember, and I remember
some people are so good at
that. I've never. I can make a box.
Yeah, that was it. I couldn't do anything with it. I would try to do some stuff, and oh my god.
And I've mentioned this on other podcasts too, but and probably older versions of this. And yeah, I know you probably know the story too, but I don't know if you do. But 1986, I wanted a laser tag. The official laser tag, and I got it. I got everything. I got the laser tag gun that came with the thing that you shot. The harness. I got the vest. I didn't get the helmet. I got the ball cap instead. But I was super excited. Problem with laser tag?
You need
You gotta
someone
have
else.
somebody to play with.
Yeah, if there's no one else in the neighborhood if they didn't get laser tag, you just got stuck with laser tag. I got stuck with laser tag. I had no one to play with because there was there.
It didn't come with like a set.
No,
it was just one person.
You got one gun.
What in the world?
You got one laser tag gun. You got one Starbright
like
weapon.
walking
Suppose
around.
if you went to go play laser tag in a laser tag facility, you'd have your own equipment.
Except it wouldn't
But
work.
did
'cause
they
the
have laser
frequencies are-
tag facilities back then?
Not locally, not for us. And so this was made. I think Galoob made this one, and there was another company that made one called Photon. But when my neighbor got a Photon, we were so excited, but they weren't compatible.
Oh.
And so it was like,
So you finally found someone. You're like laser tag, and they come out, and you guys both come out, and you're wearing the wrong brand. You're like, ah,
right, it's not gonna work.
mother trucker.
Right, it was, but there's pictures of man. If I can dig them up, I'll post them.
Walking around looking like a badass.
I
though.
was man. I loved my laser, everything, and it was expensive. So that's all I got that Christmas. I mean, it was like
That's super sad.
it was like you get all this equipment and no one to play with.
It's like no one thought it through. Like, oh, you love it? Okay, you gonna go play with it? Oh,
And I was, we made the best of it. I had fun with it. We would take the little sensor and do like hide and go seek, where you had to go trace them down with a sensor. We made our own games out of it, but no one ever got
Yeah.
another light ride.
Yeah.
Another laser tag. I've looked on eBay a few times. I'm gonna get another set one day.
You still have your set?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I want.
Well, you should probably get 2.
Yeah, I want to get 2. It's gonna look cool. So
We should probably get 3, and all 3 of us can play it.
oh, that'd be fun.
I would love to go play laser tag.
Laser tag would be fun. That's a good trip down memory lane.
I know it.
Well, you're in charge, so when you
I
want to.
know. Well, let's wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Festivus, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Yule, Happy Hanukkah,
Happy Life Day.
Happy Life Day,
Which has passed, but-
Happy Solstice, which just passed.
Yeah.
Happy Thursday.
Whatever you decide
Happy
to
Podcast
celebrate.
Podcast Thursday.
I know. Whatever you guys decide to celebrate it in peace and love and with people that you enjoy being around.
And if you can have a
True that.
libation, we have a whole list of libations.
We have some fancy ones that you can, you know what? If you need to do something for the next 48 hours,
There
get
you
you a
go.
BB gun.
You can get your BB gun. We have.
All right. Well, this is our contribution to the multiverse. Go out and make yours.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Mopcast Network.